I come from Poland, a town called Bialystok in the eastern part of Poland.
I was born in Bialystok in 1932 in October. Well, it was a happy place. I mean, I had a younger brother. All my mother's family lived in Bialystok, and they all lived pretty much in the same street, so I could go from one house to the other, and yeah. Well, when I was a child, I thought that everybody was Jewish, apart from a few people. Because there were more Jews in Bialystok than non-Jews, far more. And it was a very close community. I mean, there were a lot of Jews that couldn't even speak Polish because they had no need for it. The Poles could speak Yiddish.
I was born in Bialystok, the 18th of May, 1923.
Well, I was born in Bialystok, and I lived with my parents, of course, and with two brothers. I remember as a child how we were frightened. I remember when the Poles came in and we were sitting in the cellar after the First World War. Yeah. You know, I remember all these things. But then I went to gymnasium, and I was from a well-to-do family, and I had plenty of everything, never any worries. And I had all my friends were Jewish. I spoke a perfect Polish, of course. I still do.
The war broke out in 1939, and Poland was divided. And I lived later on in the part that was occupied by Soviet Russia.
People go for Shara because they wait for a certificate to go Israel. You have to wait. And when you were a beautiful girl, sometimes comes somebody from America to look for a bride. From the Polish side come a lot of refugees. And maybe it was more than 100,000 people. And they slept in the synagogues, they slept on the street.
About 5 o'clock in the morning, bang, bang. We couldn't think what it was. The Russian soldiers, officers even, were running out of the house, saying, oh, it must be, exercise. But without warning, of course. They were real bombs and not exercise. And within a week, the Nazis marched into Bialystok, into my town.
In 1941, the Germans attacked Russians unexpectedly. I remember being in the pictures, coming from the pictures, and we saw such that the skies were covered with planes. On the same building, they lived Russians. They say it's maneuvers. They didn't believe.
My brother was from the Bialystok Ghetto. They went from house to house, and they took special the young boys. After they took them maybe on a big place under the city, they shot everybody. That was the Bialystok Ghetto.
But the next thing I knew, the following Saturday, which was the 6th of July, they walked into the buildings of the Jewish buildings and assembled all men, just the males, the men. They took them under gun point, and among them was my father and his nephew Avram, the one we stayed with. They said, loose, 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 out, out, out. And I started clinging to my father, but he said, keep away, stay with Luba, because it's better you're not with me. They took away all the men. Later on I found out that they surrounded 6,000 men in the one Saturday morning, and took them out of the buildings. They took them away. Nobody knew that they were already dead the next day. They took them beyond Bialystok in an empty forest or field, and they shot them there.
The atrocities started then with the Germans. I think for a start, I think for a start, it was the Bialystok big synagogue, where they got in, I don't know exactly, but as I have been told, 1,000 to 1,200 people. And a few fellows who worked with me, which I know, because I spoke to them afterwards. They got in, pressed in into the synagogue, and the synagogue was burned. But it was there. The attendant, which was a Christian woman or whatever, who attended Struj. She opened up the back door and she let out about a dozen of people. I think they managed to run away. And one was a friend with whom I worked, and he told me about it.
And in this way, we, the family, thought, well, we are here all together and we hope that we will survive. Mind you, I think that our ghetto in Bialystok, maybe if you'll read about it, you'll hear that that relatively was better than in places like Warsaw and yes. But the Bialystok ghetto was lucky until it was liquidated.
One day, as I told you, we had weekly call-up. My name is called, and that was in February 43. I think it was before Purim something.
Yeah.
And I have been called down and taken by an SS to the ghetto. Walked the way to the ghetto. We went through the gate of the ghetto, and I saw the Broches Fertig. The old ghetto, you didn't see a soul on the streets. The only thing, it means no movement, except some people which went into one direction, which have been led into one direction to Yurovetska. I have been the lucky one who went into a passenger compartment, and who sits there in the corner? Aaron Sokolovich with his wife, with his boy, sitting in the corner. She is shot through the arm, and a beautiful child. All together, and we have been in one compartment going to Auschwitz.
In August 15th, there came another shield on all the homes, announcement that every Jew, every single person from the ghetto has to come forward on that day. And we were all gathered on a big, not forest, a big field outside Bialystok. It's called Petrask. So on that August day, when we were marching towards the outskirts of the ghetto, towards the valley called Petrask, when we arrived there was nightfall already. We saw lots and lots of people, and all I remember is sitting on the outskirts and all night screaming going on, mothers looking for children, parents looking for children, searching for brother, for sisters, calling out names. And once you stepped out of the circle of the valley, there was no mercy. I remember seeing Germans with the not shooting them, killing them hitting them with the back of the rifle. They killed them virtually by hitting them over the head. There used to be many bodies falling around us. So after that, the screaming of the night, screaming out names subsided because there was a big price to pay. So whoever wasn't lucky enough and they were separated in the cattle march towards the valley was separated for good.
But the grandmother said, it's impossible that it's going to happen. It's impossible that we'll be, killed. I remember the Germans of the 1914 war.
What we found out about our family is that they survived till the final liquidation, and then they were taken with the last transport. Bialystok was liberated. Then the reports started coming in. We didn't know. We wrote letters to everyone, and all the letters came back.
When I came back to Bialystok, there is nothing to discuss. There was nobody there. That was an empty house, and that's it. And my mother, who worried all the time what is going to happen to me, because they were sure that Bialystok Ghetto will survive. Because when I left, everything was not fine, but they thought that they are on a good way.
It's pretty hard when you come back and the only relative in the whole world you have is your mother. No father, no my little brother, or my aunt. I had no one. Nobody else from the family survived. And all we found was destruction, rubble, and anti-Semitism. It wasn't safe to walk the streets after the war. The Poles would look at you and say, Hitler killed so many of you, so how come so many of you are still around? Well, we were for a whole year in Bialystok, and my mother was teaching school, and most of the kids were orphans. Some had one parent, some had none, and there were about 40 kids, all ages. Most of them have survived in hiding, in the forest, on false paper. Thanks to the Bialystokers that we did get here, they got us papers, because we had no family here. They found a sponsor for us, they got us papers, they paid our passage, they met us at our ship, they provided the first roof over our head to the Bialystokers. I have nothing but praise for them. And I'm very pleased that there is a monument so that the next generation can come and learn that there was such a place, that there was such a city. And